Aquarius Workshop, Mature Handling of Criticism. I start with a quote from Password Lecture 90 with the title Moralizing Disproportionate Reactions Needs. The ability to take criticism and frustration in a relaxed, constructive way is a sign of maturity. The mature person is able to do so because he is in reality. He does not expect the impossible of himself and therefore accepts himself as a decent and likable human being without being perfect. Therefore, he knows that criticism does not make him all bad and all wrong. End of quote from Password Lecture 90. The lower the resilience of the inner child, the more it sees every critical remark as a great danger, for criticism activates existing pain of the delusion of not being good enough. The way this immature aspect handles criticism depends on its fearful, proud, and self-willed defense against that pain. Fearing that pain, it builds an impenetrable wall between itself and others. It is this defensive attitude towards criticism that causes the suffering, and not the criticism itself. The personality with an aggressive defense gives criticism in order to humiliate the other person and thereby makes himself feel better. But for him it is difficult to receive criticism. The submissive personality wants to be liked by everyone and fears the pain of receiving and giving criticism. These defenses prevent us from loving, reaching out, and taking risks, causing us to subconsciously believe we deserve criticism and therefore fear criticism on a conscious level. When we face this attitude, we will be able to receive criticism in a mature way, and that has a soothing effect on the soul. In this workshop, we will explore, with a loving curiosity, 3 fundamental themes of mature handling of criticism. The first theme: strengthening your self-respect. To the extent that we are emotionally dependent and allow self-esteem and self-respect to be determined by the outside world, we tend to dramatize. We become very happy with a compliment and depressed with a critical remark. We are strict and intolerant of people who make us feel really or imagined criticized. And if we are intolerant towards others, then we are just like that towards ourselves. Inwardly there is no balance because by following these pseudo-values, we doubt our integrity and do not know our true identity. The following quote stems from Password Lecture 71. Disapproval strikes a chord in you because something knows deep down that, no matter how unfounded the criticism in this case, you yourself criticize your lack of courage to help mature the child in you. To the degree you go about this maturing process and thereby lose all the negative aspects of the child, you will gain in stature, in certainty, in clear-cut, realistic concepts that you can rely upon deep within yourself. By gaining this self-respect, you will become less and less dependent on approval by others. End of quote from Password Lecture 71. The second theme, letting go of your defenses. The misconception that being criticized is a dangerous situation against which we must constantly defend ourselves prevents the experience of feelings, the ability to think reasonable, perceive, communicate, reach out, be creative, and love. We defend ourselves against criticism because it reveals something we don't want to face, or because we believe that if the truth comes out, we don't deserve love and respect. This fear is unjustified, even if the criticism were justified. Nothing can happen to us. We are not in danger. The following quote stems from Password Lecture 101. Justified or unjustified criticism cannot really harm you unless you think you cannot be loved and respected if something to be criticized is found. It cannot harm you by looking at it calmly. Your defense against it is the harm. The lie itself or the erroneous judgment could never harm you. And the less defensive you are, the more adequate will you be to straighten out an outright lie or misunderstanding. End from quote from Password Lecture 101. The third and last theme, being honest with yourself. Being honest means facing immature tendencies such as submission to enforce the false need for approval, the proud false desire to be better than others by impressing or proving a false independence by rebelling. Through this honest attitude, we see the madness of those pseudo-needs and let them go, realizing that fulfillment never comes from without and can only be found within. Then we feel really powerful and independent. We are able to stand up for ourselves, calmly receive criticism, and examine that criticism for truth. The last quote stems from Password Lecture 179. The right kind of self-assertion, including the risk to be criticized, leads to an openness of mind that can afford to truly listen to and weigh what others have to say in an honest way, asking but one thing: is this a truth? Could it be my truth? End of quote from Password Lecture 179. For more information, look at my website. I wish you peace and all the best. Thank you.